Hello everyone and welcome to RPGs with Paddy. I'm Paddy. So finally I'm getting to the penultimate entry for Runequest. Apologies for the delay, but yeah, my schedule is pretty clear now, so I'd say the final entries for all three games will be out within the next day or two. So this is a fairly straightforward entry. We front-loaded a lot of the work with Runequest earlier by learning about the combat. So don't forget to like and subscribe, and let's get started. So we just have a quick list here of what we need to gather to get ready for the game. The first thing is dice appropriate for your system. So Runequest has the most dice, the biggest dice demands from the three games that I'm running here, Runequest, Numenera, and Trail of Cthulhu. For Runequest, you will need a D4, D6, D8, 2 D10s, a D12, and a D20. If you bought the physical copy of the Runequest starter set, all necessary dice come included in it. If you didn't, you can get a set of polyhedral dice pretty cheaply on Amazon. Just a quick note, metal dice are cool, but make sure you have somewhere to roll them, like a small cardboard box is fine, because they will destroy your table if you're rolling directly on the table. It's convenient if everyone has their own set of dice, just to keep things running smoothly. If you can't get your hands on physical dice, just Google dice roller and everything you need will pop up there. Next, gather some blank paper and a pencil. This can be nice for taking notes and possibly drawing quick maps or diagrams for your players. Not necessary, but useful. Next, blank character sheets. You don't need these for Runequest. Character creation is quite complex actually, and you don't learn about it in the starter set. So you don't want blank character sheets. We will be using the pre-generated characters that come in the starter set. We'll discuss which ones we will use in the next video. Finally, drinks and snacks. These are optional, but it's a bit of a tradition when playing role-playing games, and it can help keep the players happy while they learn a new system. Although hopefully they've already played through the solo quest, so they know the system a little bit. There are some less essential items listed here. Handouts. We talked about this before, and there's no handouts provided for this starter adventure, apart from the map of Johnstown, which you can include or skip if you want. If you've made any of your own handouts, that's great, and just have them ready. Up next is a GM screen. This is a cardboard stand that shows a nice picture to the players on one side, kind of helps them get into the setting. And on the other side, on the inside, it has a lot of the important rules gathered for quick reference for you, so you don't have to look up the rule book all the time. It also hides your notes and your dice rolls from the players to keep certain things secret. If you want to have complete transparency with your dice rolls, you can still roll them out in the open. But it's important that the players don't see the book or spoilers, so have something blocking that if you can. Up next, suggested is a vinyl mat and some dry erase markers. I used these for a bit during a D&D campaign before the pandemic hit. Since then, I haven't used it. It's good, but it can be a little bit finicky and a bit distracting for the players. I like to play theatre of the mind. Similarly, with miniatures, I find that it can distract players from the immersion of the game. However, some people love using them. I would say don't worry about it for your first game, but if you decide, you and your group decide you want to play Runequest a lot, then you can consider buying them later. Tokens, we don't need any tokens for Runequest, and again, it's an unnecessary distraction in my opinion. Some systems like Achtung Cthulhu or Conan 2D20 need tokens for momentum and doom, but we don't need anything like that in Runequest. And finally, you don't need any extra text. Everything that you need is in the starter set. So now let's move on to the Runequest specific advice. The first activity is to gather the items that I've just listed above, so mostly just the dice, some pen and paper, and possibly a GM screen if you want. After that, we're just continuing our mental run-through of the game. In this entry, they advise you to focus on the trial scene. So just run through that in your mind and think about how things look, how people, the characters, act and react, and how the different characters, the PCs and NPCs, are treated. So how do the judge or the city recs, how do they treat the players, the player characters, versus the trolls? And does that depend on what actions the player characters took? You should also think about describing the journey between Johnstown and Menhir's Landing. It's countryside, so you can describe whatever you imagine, really. How's the weather? Are there any sounds on the wind? Any smells? Don't spend too long describing it, because describing the scenery is usually just you as a game master talking. If the players are interested in something and ask follow-up questions, then you can expand on it. Finally, think about when they arrive at the abandoned farms. How can you build up the tension and the horror? We're advised here to use all kind of horror tropes, use jump scares, get the players on edge. So you should watch any good horror movies where they are exploring abandoned lots, abandoned houses for inspiration. And that's all we have to do for this entry. I told you it was short. We've really done the heavy lifting by learning the combat rules nice and early. And that is all for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll post the final uploads for each of Numenera, Trail of Cthulhu, and Runequest within the next day or two. See you next time. Bye.